the chance to see it later on. Nice.
You will. Cool. So now the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Is everything fine? Sound is okay? Good. I don't recognize all the names, but some faces, yes. So I don't know if we have to wait like a little bit more. Maybe someone is still arriving. We will see. I think that all of you were here yesterday as well, right? Nice. Okay.
Yeah, they're slowly still coming in. But
Yeah.
if you can see that people are waiting room, you can admit them as well. Just
Yeah, perfect. I'm co-host. Yeah, I'm the co-host now. Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, I will suggest that we wait like 2 or 3 minutes to actually start, and then we will stay a little bit longer, like a little bit after 5, if it's okay for everyone. If not, we will understand how to manage it.
maybe you can do a demonstrative sound, like
Okay.
like design the waiting room, the soundscape of this waiting room.
Yeah, we actually came out yesterday with this idea of like try to understand which is the sound of a waiting room. No, but actually what we can do while we're waiting is play sounds that yesterday we recorded and that are shared in the folder.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let me just check why I don't see the chat here.
Well, and I think more or less, like you can start in 1 or 2 minutes because they are usually very punctual. Like within 10 minutes, I think more or less, like the people should be here.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just a small reminder for who is here now already. I hope that you have Ableton installed. This way, today we can start from that point and we will start to actually work in Ableton Live. So just make sure that is running on your computer. And then I will share again on the chat the link of the Google folder in which we can put some sounds. And these ones are the one that were recorded yesterday, like.
And I noticed Miriam is also here. She's our program manager.
Who, sorry?
Miriam.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's also producer, DJ, somewhat our program, Hyper Islands program manager. So she's here.
Okay, nice.
Taking your workshop.
I'm just here in the background picking it. Nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you too. So if I'm playing sounds, is everyone able to hear them, like this one? Nice. Okay. I don't know who was uploading these ones yesterday, but they were pretty nice. Like this door squeak and this guitar strings. This one is called Splash and it's pretty nice. And this one too. Okay, this one is pretty obvious where it's coming from. Who was the author of these sounds?
I had some of them, but not all of them.
Okay, nice. Cool. Let me play this one.
Barn får mot mässlingen. Professor Matti Sellberg forskar om vaccin på Karolinska institutet.
Feels like a TV. Okay, nice. Okay, I would say that we can start with our workshop again. So yesterday, the last thing that we were talking about is Ableton Live. And I think that everyone has this link, but I can share this again on the chat. This way we make sure that you can follow. So on this link, you will find like some content that we are talking about that you can follow along with them, and some pages will be a little bit more developed, but the URL will be the same. So no worries, you will find everything there. And what are we doing now is Ableton Live. I can also share my screen. This way you will see everything that I'm doing. Share. Okay. So yesterday we talked a little bit on why we choose to work on, I choose to work on Ableton Live, and what you can find on the website. That are some videos that are explaining you better how it works, and some talks and lectures that are pretty inspiring. And especially there are 2 sessions on the website that on which you can learn more about synths and music theory, that are pretty useful and interactive, so they're not boring at all, and that's cool. And then you can also find a lot of packs. That means that you can import a lot of sounds that are like really high quality recorded, and you can have new instruments and effects that you can just like run into the software itself. We will move to the software now. So if you have Ableton installed, we can just now launch it. I will share my screen again. Okay. So share screen, Ableton Live. Okay. So when you open the software, you will have something that looks like this, more or less, and probably it's not exactly the same thing because you can change the standard configuration of your session. But the most important thing to understand is that you have 2 main views of your sessions, and you can switch between them through a small button that is on the right top corner, in which you will switch between, you can switch between the arrangement view and the session view. So what is the difference between those 2 views? One is vertical, as you can see here, and the other one is horizontal. That means that in this one you can see the timeline of the project on which you are working on, and all the tracks and all the different part of the software as well, but spread on a timeline. And on this view you have all the tracks in a vertical way. That means that you have access to different parameters quickly, like for example the volume of the track, and these knobs and input and output routing. One thing that is pretty unique about Ableton is that when you're in the session view, you can load per each track something that is called a clip. So for example, if I now take one of the sound that were recorded yesterday, and I just drag and drop it inside Ableton, we will see that a small box is appearing here on the track, and if I double click this box, we will see the waveform that is contained inside it, and that's a sample. If we load a sample inside a clip here, we will not find it in the timeline here. So basically the idea of the software is that we can have a lot of different samples loaded in a lot of different tracks here, like something like this, with different sounds, and we can play between them and decide like and have a like a composition, or just like play them live and mix them and whatever. And either we can record them in a timeline, or drag and drop them, or copy and paste them on a timeline. This way we can actually organize them in time. So the main difference is that if we play sounds here, like for example this, oh wait, probably you're not hearing this. I will just set it up. Okay. Why is it not playing? Do you hear the sound from Ableton now?
Yes,
Okay.
I do, or
that's-
I do. I don't know.
Okay, that's nice.
Don't. Or-
You don't?
No.
But it's pretty weak. It's
Or
like
very
a
low.
little, yeah.
So
Okay, so let me see, just like a configuration in Zoom, I should be able to do this. How can I share?
maybe I just need to raise my volume a lot.
No, just sorry, just let me go through. I think that now if I'm doing this as well, it should work, but then you don't see my screen. Oh, how can I do both at the same time? So now you see my screen, but you don't hear the sound. Then we can try to go to Zoom. Sorry, just a bit strange this. Okay, I will try to sort it out later. What we can do now is just raise a bit the volume. Okay, anyway, at this point, it's just important that you actually see what I'm doing, and you can see what I'm doing in Ableton right now, right? Yes. So we were talking about the fact that if we have multiple tracks here, like we are having now, containing different clips, like we have now, that means that we have different sounds in each track that can be played. They are played live, so each clip is playing on itself on a different track, but they are not organized in time. If we want to organize them in time, we can either press the record button, and then whatever is playing in this part of the software will be recorded on the other side, like this. And we can see here that we are recording what we are doing. Or we can, as we did before, like copy and paste clips here, or work directly in this part of the software, and then we will be able to organize sound in time, like on a timeline, like if you are, I don't know, cutting together a movie or something like that.
Can you show how you got into this view again?
Yeah, you have these two small buttons in the top right corner here, so you can switch between the arrangement view and session view. And the shortcut to jump between the two parts is pressing the tab button. So if you just press on the tab, you're switching between the two parts of the software.
Thank you.
Okay. Then, yeah, we need to understand what is the main difference between this. So going back to our default session, admit, as you can see here, when I open the software, probably you have two MIDI tracks and two audio tracks, something like that. So what's the difference between those two tracks? They are working in a different way. So a MIDI track, and you can see that there is a difference between this part and this part of the track, and also where it says MIDI from and audio from, and MIDI to and audio to. So a MIDI track is expecting to have some MIDI instructions, while an audio track is expecting to contain some audio file. So as I did before, if we want to, for example, drag and drop an audio file into the session that we are using, I can just drag it on an audio track. If I'm trying to drag it on a MIDI track, what will happen is that that track will automatically be transformed into an audio track. So if I'm doing this, then it will be transformed automatically. Because in this clip, as we've seen before, an audio file is contained, so we will see a waveform. But in this track, if we double click here, we will see that we will have this thing that is called a piano roll, in which we can actually put some MIDI notes. So a MIDI track basically by itself is not playing an audio file, but what it's doing is receiving MIDI notes that are instructions that we can write or import from some other source. And once that we design different MIDI, that we write down some MIDI notes, then what we need is an instrument that is playing those notes. So a MIDI track is made to load an instrument. And to make a quick example, we can have a synth like this one. So if I don't have an instrument and I try to play this clip, we will see that every note will be played, but this instruction is not going anywhere. There's no one that is receiving that instruction and no one knows what is supposed to do with that. So we need then to load an instrument into that track like a synth, and then we will have some sound. This sound, you hear it? No. Whoa. Let me try just one more time to do that. Oh, because if I'm doing this, now you hear the sound and you don't see the image, right?
I don't hear anything.
Okay, if I'm doing this. Okay, now you hear the sound, but there's no screen shared, right? Okay. That's a bit of a limit of Zoom. Sure. Oh, no, here we are. That was my limit. If I do this now, you have the sound and you see the video, right? Cool.
Yes.
Nice. We found out how to do that. So, quick resume. A MIDI track to make sound need an instrument that is playing inside it, while an audio track will play if we just load some audio file in it. Okay, another part of the software is the one that is popping up every time that I'm double clicking somewhere. So if I want to know which instrument is used in this MIDI track now, I double click on the name of the track like this, and this part will open in the bottom of the software, showing me which instrument is played here. That allows me to change actually the sound and tweak it, or change the instrument itself, or add some effects. So if I play this and I do this, I can just like change the sound and adjust it and play the instrument itself. And then if I double click on a clip that I created before, I can change the notes that are inside the clip. So if I make something like this, I will have another sequence now that is playing, and I can just like adjust it on the run. Okay, same thing on an audio track. If I double click on the name of the track like this, I will have this part in the bottom of the software that says drop audio effects here. That means that if we want to apply some sort of effects, we will just like drag them there So we go to audio effects on the side. I just do it quickly and we will do it properly later, but then so I can just like take an effect, drag it here, and I will have something here that is allowing me to change, for example, the sound that is inside here. Okay, then so on an audio track, if I double click on the clip, I will see which is the content, like which is the audio file that is contained into the clip. If I double click on the name of the track, I will see what kind of effects I'm using. On a MIDI track, if I double click on the clip, I will see which notes are played. And if I double click on the name of the track, I will see which instruments I'm using. Everything is clear? Nice. Then, okay, we will see, we already saw it, but let's go deeper into that. So in this left up corner here, we have a small arrow. And if we click on this one, we will open the browser. This browser allows us to go through different sounds, drum sounds, instruments, audio effects, MIDI effects, and plugins, and whatever is installed in our computer. The main thing that you will focus on now is audio effects and eventually instruments. Audio effects are the one that can be applied to audio tracks to change a sound and to modify it, and of course like to add an effects. And instruments are the one that can be dragged into a MIDI track, and this way we can play the instructions that we are writing into a clip. So basically instruments is something that it can be put in the MIDI track and can be played, and then effects are the one that we can apply to an existing audio file. Of course, we can also add effects after an instrument. So for example, here we are playing this synth, and if I want to have a delay, I can add it after. So we will have the synth plus the delay, and we will have something like this. Every time that I'm playing a clip, as I can just like click on this small part, like the play button, and it will start. If I want to stop, I have to go here on top, and there is the global transport. So here I can play or stop whatever I'm doing in the whole track. And if I just like click on a square button below a clip, I will stop just the clip that is playing. So if I play everything now, everything is playing. If I want to stop this, I stop just this one, and this will continue running, and then I can stop this one too. All right. Then we want to have a look also at the other part, and then the grid. Yeah. So now what we understood is a little bit how it works, the session view, in which we have clips, tracks, and especially the browser. Now we will close the browser. We don't want to see what is happening in the track, so we have this small arrow here. No, that's here. And then we go to the arrangement view. So I click the tab key, or you can switch it again using one of these two buttons. So when I switched into the arrangement view, now you can see that those two tracks have some symbols here, and that means that on those tracks we were playing clips, so we have active clips that are played in the other view. So if we now want to work into the timeline, we click on the orange button. This way, whatever we are doing into the timeline will play. So what I will do now is, instead of working in the session view, we work a little bit in the arrangement view, and I will take again some sounds that were recorded yesterday. So we can just like drag and drop it here. We will take two different ones. Okay, so if I just drag and drop two sounds here, I will immediately see the waveform. And I put them in a audio track, and what I wanted to show you is that once that I drag a sound here, if I double click on it, it will behave again as a clip. So if I double click on this sound that I just dragged here, I will have again this view that is on the bottom of the screen, in which I can see which is the content of this clip. So if I now double click on this one, I will see the other sound, and on this one again. So basically, if I double click on these two sounds, it's exactly the same thing of double clicking inside here, but it's a different way to play them and to organize them. And what is important to know when you are working into the arrangement view is that, as you can see, there are a lot of vertical lines. These lines are called grid and is helping you to put stuff in time or to stick to a BPM. BPM is the beats per minute, and means that you can set a specific time, like for example 120 BPM, and if I activate the metronome and I press play, we will have like a metronome going on. But at the moment we don't need that. But it's important to know this, because now if I want to move around these two files and create my own sound collage with the sounds that I recorded from my phone, so I will just drag in a little bit of more sounds, and I want to have like a collage here. I cannot move them wherever I want, but they will jump between those different lines because the grid is active. So what I can do now, if I want to be free to move stuff on time, is to right click in an empty space. I will have this menu, and here you can see that there is fixed grid. So if I switch between those numbers, it will just change the size of the grid, and if I click off, I will now be able to move stuff wherever I want. This way I can, for example, sync things like that and say, okay, everything will happen at the same time here. And I will just sync them in this way. And so I can just play. And this is the first composition that we made in Ableton Live. Woo, big success. Okay. Another thing that is nice to know is that, okay, every track has different parameters that you can control. So both in the arrangement view and in the session view, those parameters will just be in different places if you are in this view or in the other one. In this view, if you want to, for example, mute a track or change the volume or change the left and right position, so it's called the panning, if you will hear it more on one side or on the other one, you will find all those controls here. So let's say that we want to play this part in a loop. So it will just like go around, so we can make it smaller like this. And we don't want to hear this wash. We can just click on this yellow button here, and this track will not be active. So if I play this again, of course, this will not play. But if we then want to change the position in space, we have this other button that says C. So if you click on it and then you move left or right, you will change the position of this sound. So for example, if I do something like that, and I don't know if you have headphones, now you will hear that sounds are in different places. then one last thing is that here you have the volume of each different track that allows you to mix sounds in a different way. So let's say that we want to have the door squeak a little bit louder. We can go up and increase it. We want the squash a little bit more quiet. We can take it down. Same thing for the guitar. And clink, we want to have it super quiet. So we can change the volume here and play it again and hear what is going on. Okay, as you can see, now I changed the setting of these different tracks here, but if I switch to the session view, I will find the same setting. So here is the panning that, as you can see, each track has a different one because I moved them. Here you have the volume of different tracks and everyone has a different one because I changed it. And here you have again a yellow button that allows you to activate or deactivate different tracks. So with these tools that we saw now, you should be able to open a new session, drag into that different sounds that you recorded, and modify the volume of each sound, the position into the space, and put them in a different organization on a timeline. And the last thing that we need to know to actually make our first composition is how to export wherever we create it. So to export it, we go to File, Export Audio and Video, and we will have this window that is popping up. And we have different parameters. So now it says that we render the track that is called master, and that's exactly what we want, because what is happening into Ableton is that every track that we are playing into the session will go through the master track. That is just the one in the bottom here, and this is our final mix of everything that we are doing. Then we have the render start, that is the beginning of our export, and the render length, that is the end of it. And for example, now, it can be a little bit complicated just to set it up with numbers. So what we can do is actually, before pressing the render button in the menu, we can select the part that we want to export like this. And we do it again. And now it will be already set it. Then we can decide the sample rate, and that is what we were talking about yesterday. So we can put it on 44K. And then the type, like the file format that we want to export. PCM is uncompressed file format, while MP3, it will be a compressed one. And you can also choose to export both of them. But we can now work with an uncompressed file format like this one. So this will be set on, and then if we export it, we will just know where it should go. We can put it in the folder that we're sharing. It will be composition number 1, and we will have it here. Is everyone still here? Is everything clear until now?
I think it's a bit hard to follow. It's a lot.
Was it okay? Was it too quick
for me?
Okay.
I feel like I should sit down, and I don't. Yeah, I'm lost.
Okay. We can.
But that's okay.
Go back a little bit, because maybe it was a bit too quick.
Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But just wanted to be honest.
No, that's really good. So, for example, where did you get lost? Like, you understood the difference between the session and the arrangement view, or how it works, the different tracks of the software?
Yeah, I don't know. There was just a lot of info
Okay, just really quickly. Okay.
It was just I didn't have time to look where you pointed and.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
me
Okay. Okay.
too.
Okay, I would say that my suggestion now is I will try to do again what I've done, this but in like a little bit slower, and then you will just try to, like, you will have maybe 10 minutes of time and you will try to do more or less something similar. This way you will understand where you are lost or what you understood or not, and we can like go on from there. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I will share the screen again now. Okay, and I will start a new Ableton session. So when I first open the software, I'm in the session view. Everything is vertical and we can load clip inside this part of the software. We will now start to work in the arrangement view. So to switch to the other part of the software, we can either click here in the top right corner or press the tab key that allows us to switch between the two sessions. When we are in the arrangement session, we will work on a timeline based session. So we will have like something that is developed in time. So in the bottom part here, you will also have seconds from 0, and you can see minutes that are going on. We have different lines that are a grid, and actually we want to deactivate the grid. We don't want to use it. So we right click on an empty space, and then here you select fixed grid off. At this point, we can take some sounds that we recorded. If you don't have some sound recorded on your computer, later you can try to import the one that you recorded yesterday with your phone. And now we have some, or either you can just go on the folder that is shared, in which everyone, like someone put some sounds that were recorded. You have access to that folder just on the link. You can open that folder and just drag and drop sounds to Ableton like this. If I want to drag and drop a sound in an empty space, a new track will be created automatically like this. So I can just load different sounds. Once that sounds are inside Ableton, I can rearrange them in a way that I like. I mean, of course, now you have to listen to that. You can just like play the session and you will hear whatever is done.
Did it matter where I dropped the sound?
No, where you drop them is just like, where do you want them in time? So now I put them here. And so if I want to play them, I just move the cursor where I want to listen to. And then in this way, I can just play them from there. If you want to have them like at the beginning of the session, then these will be from 0 seconds and then going on. This way is actually better because you know that this is the 0 point of your session, and now we know that we made something that is lasting for 30 seconds.
Does it matter if I put it on the MIDI section?
No, exactly. No, the MIDI track, as we said before, will not read audio files. So these samples that we are dragging and dropping in are audio files that we recorded. A MIDI file will look different. So a MIDI track will read instructions like this one, So now I double clicked on a MIDI track and I just can create a new clip in which I can write MIDI notes. That's how a MIDI track works. So a MIDI track will not read audio samples like this one, but will read MIDI notes. That at the moment we don't have any MIDI file that we want to import, but we can create a new one. So how can you use a MIDI track? Let's say that you have this composition here that you made with your samples, and then you want to have a piano that is playing in the background and you don't have a recorded piano. You can create it using MIDI, because MIDI reads different notes that you can write down, and then you can decide which instrument is playing those notes. And that instrument can be a piano, can be a synth, can be a drum machine, can be like whatever. Is it clear? The nice thing about Ableton is that actually if you try to drag an audio file into a MIDI track, first will say you that is not possible, and then will transform the track into an audio track. So now if I try to do this, I will have like a warning message say, okay, you're dragging audio file into a MIDI track, so will be transformed into something else. So if I say, okay, transform into a melody, he will try to read it as a melody. But actually, if the MIDI track is empty, like this, I don't have anything into it, and I will try to drag an audio file, it will transform the MIDI track into an audio track. So what we will use now is just audio tracks, is fine. We just have to know that a MIDI track is something different that is used to play different instruments and that will receive MIDI notes. But now we will just work with audio tracks. So what we will be able to do now is having a session with different samples that we recorded and we dragged into the session. And then what we can also do is change the volume of each track and the panning. That means the position, if they are left or right. And those controls are here on the right part of the tracks. So the yellow box is activating or deactivating the track. So if this is not yellow, that means that the track is actually not playing, is muted. Like we will not hear that sound. But now we want all of them to play. On this small box here with a 0 inside, if we click on it and then we go up and down, we can change this value, and this is the volume of the track. So if I make it like this sound, I just put it here, will be super quiet. And then I can increase the volume.
That is the reality of Venezuela today, and yet you...
And then with this box that's saying C, that stands for center, we can change the position of the sound between left and right.
Mot mässlingen. Professor Matti Sellberg forskar om vaccin på Karolinska institutet.
That is the reality.
Make sense? So what we will do now, I think that is the moment to have like a small assignment. This way you can try to actually do what we did, what I was doing now, and then you will have more questions and you will see if you actually understood it, because this is the starting point and it's cool if everything is clear for everyone. So what I'm asking you actually now is to try to make your own session, to work in the arrangement view, that is the one that we were using now with the timeline, import some files and organize them in time to make just a sound collage. Okay.
I have a question. I tried like to drag file and put it in, but it keep like it's not allowed. Like I cannot drag.
Yeah.
Down
At this point, what you can check is the file format. What kind of file are you trying to drag in?
The same as like we upload, like I uploaded on link,
Okay.
but it's not working. Like I don't know what's wrong.
That's a little bit strange. So you're just like having your folder open somewhere, and you're just like.
When I drag it, it doesn't like it make like the cross sign that it's not pasting in the program.
Okay, and so are you into this view, like you're not on this part of the software, but you're actually here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then when you're just doing this operation, like you have like you don't have this kind of thing that is happening.
No, when I drag like I tried like I download one of the sound that already on the drive, but it didn't work.
That's a little bit strange because we don't even have an option to import it in a different way. You can just try to open a new session.
Maybe.
Yeah, you can try with another file for sure. Maybe I can just like quickly upload just a file with a different format just to make sure. That is not the format the problem. Let me check. So. Okay, so if I copy this one that is a different format, you have access to the Google Drive folder, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I put in a file that I will rename with the one. This way is the first one, and it's called drop. And as you can see, is .aif, so it's a different format.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, if you try to drag and drop that one, is it working?
Yeah. Yeah, it worked.
Okay. Okay, that's a bit strange anyway, because now if you try again with another files that we have here, like the door squeak, it doesn't work.
No, I even like tried one that you already tried in like when you're showing us the Pring one that and it didn't paste on the program, but this one with the AV is paste.
Okay, so it can be like a file format problem. And also if you try again now on the same track, it's not working.
Yeah, I tried like
so now if I have the drop and then like
no, it does not drop. Like
that's a bit strange, and I don't know why is the problem is with the file format.
Like it's like there is a edit for the program that I can edit what type of
No, it should be automatic. Like you should be able to read every sort of file without changing any kind of preferences. So
okay. So I will try to.
Yeah, what you can do, you can also just try to restart the software. Sometimes, I mean, it's a little bit
a
of
basic step, yeah.
basic step, but you can try
It
to
works.
redo. Oh, okay, you did it and it works now.
No, well, like it sometimes when you just restart, it worked, but I will do that. I might restart my whole computer. And
Yeah.
then
Okay. Yeah, but also just restart Ableton. Maybe there should be maybe something wrong with that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So what we will do now, I will give you like, do you think 10 minutes are enough? We will have like a 10 minutes in which, or we can say also 15, 15 minutes, everyone will have a new Ableton session. We'll drag some files into that, make a sound collage, eventually changing the volume of different sounds. And it would be nice also if we can export it into the folder that is shared. Is fine. Everyone knows how to export a file? We will see it again.
I think I can't drop it in Ableton in the format that it is either. The ones that I downloaded from the drive.
That's really strange. All of you are running Ableton Live 10.
Yes, that's the one I have. But when I tried to import or like drop another audio that I had on my computer.
Yeah.
And that worked, but not the one that I saved from the drive. So I might have to save it as another file or like another format.
Yeah, to make it easier, I will convert it quickly for everyone. This way,
Thank you.
Because I think the problem at this point is that the Ableton that you have is not reading this file format. And is a bit strange, but we will do it. Okay. Okay, so now, like in 1 second in the folder, you should be able to see the same files, but in MP3 version, and this should be possible to drag and drop them easily. You see them?
Yes, I'm gonna try that now because that should work. I think the other one that I put in Ableton was MP3, so it should work now.
Yeah. Is it working?
Just a second. Let me see. Yes, it works now, for me at least.
Okay,
yeah,
so
and it works for me as well.
okay, so it was a problem with the file format. It's not totally clear why I'm able to open that and not you, but at the same time, it's fine. We solved it. So I will just quickly show again how you can export something. So once that you have your composition that you made, like the sound collage that you did, you can first of all select on the timeline the section that you want to export, like just clicking and dragging like I'm doing now. This way, this part that I highlight will be exported, that portion of time. So if, for example, I have this in the middle of my timeline and I want to export from here to here, I will do this. And that part will be exported. If they are at the beginning, I can just like do this and this part will be exported. Once that I selected the portion of time that I want to export, I go to File, Export Audio Video, and I will have this menu here. We can just make sure that the sample rate is 44K, and that's good. And we will export a PCM file now. So this button should be on. This PCM file is a non-compressed file.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Okay. Now is it clear? Oops, okay. So this button should be on, like it's now. And then at this point, we will just click on export. We will name it and export it wherever we want. So I would say from now, we will have 15 minutes. So at 20 past 3, we will be back and we will listen to the sound collage that you did. You can take the sounds from the folder that is shared. If you have other sounds on your computer, you can use whatever you want. And we will be back in 15 minutes. Okay? Good.
I'm sorry, but at the beginning you said like we need to turn something off, but I forgot what was it.
The grid, probably. So it just allows you to move everything that you are importing into the software in like this. You see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the grid is active and is just right click and then, for example, like this, I'm just allowed to move it on the grid. So I cannot put it exactly everywhere, but it will just go by steps. If I right click somewhere and then I turn the fixed grid off, now I'm just able to move it wherever I want.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Is the collage folder in the sound on folder?
Yes, yes. You can see it?
No, but I might be a little blind. I haven't looked so long.
Yeah, I made it now, so it should be...
Maybe I just need to refresh.
Yeah, exactly.
I see it now.
Good.
I dropped my file there, but now it's gone. Is it meant to be that way?
Is it called a test?
Yes, Ableton test.
I can see it.
Okay, I can see it. It's weird.
Nice. So this one, that is the first one, I will just rename it and is Kaisa, right?
Yeah. My masterpiece.
Good. I will just use your name, masterpiece. We will add it later, but it's fine. Okay, we have another file. Okay, everyone, are you uploading your files? I can see them. That's good. We wait like 1 more minute and then we can start to listen to them.
Is it supposed to start like analyzing and encoding every sound? Like every singular one when I export it?
You got a message like that from Ableton?
Yeah, I don't know. Now it's done, so I'm gonna see what happened.
Yeah, it's a bit strange that it happened for every file, but it can be that he has to analyze it. Like every time that you're importing a file, he's creating a special file that is called as.asd. That is like an analysis file that he's doing. So maybe just have to do that, and it's okay. If you were able to export it, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to put it in the folder now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna.
Yeah.
To change the volume of a clip, I did it on one, and then I don't know how to do it anymore.
we can have a look at that again. So just a quick question to Joyce. Your file is called j.ableton.wav, right?
Yes.
Okay, you just put it in the folder. I just move it into the collage folder. This way we have it inside
sorry.
there. No, it's perfect. Just to make sure. And then I go back to Kaisa. I share the screen just to show you quickly how it works. So if you want to, you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to change the volume of a track, you go here on the right part, in which you have all these settings, and this box with a 0 inside is the volume of the track. So you click on it and then you scroll up or down, and you can increase it or decrease it, of course.
But then you could also have like on the clip so that it gets more quiet. You know, that little. I managed to get like a
You mean this one?
graph on the clip, or what to say, so that it could like get lower gradually.
This thing that
Yes.
Okay.
I can't manage to get a hold of that on all clips, but on some.
Okay, so to use that part is called fade in and fade out. I just make it bigger. When you have a clip, whatever it is, usually when you import it is like that without a fade. Then if you approach the corner of the clip, you have those small square here. And then when you click on it, you can just like drag it and change it in and then modify it, the curve or whatever.
Yeah, that's good thing to use.
Oh, yeah.
But how did you zoom in? That makes it easier.
Sorry?
How did you zoom in?
Okay, so if you have like a interactive trackpad, you can just like use more than one finger, like if you're like enlarging a picture or whatever. And then if you do that, you will zoom on the time part. And then if you want to make the track larger, then you press the Alt button and then you scroll with 2 fingers up or down. This is the shortcut. If you just want to do that, then you can just like go here on the track name and then you can just make it bigger this way.
Okay.
And
Nice.
same thing, if you go up here, when you go a little bit on top, you have this, you see that the mouse is changing and it becomes like a lens, and then you can drag and drop and you can change the size of the timeline. All right, let's go back and see if everyone uploaded it. Okay, boom. So we still have just 4 files, but it's okay. You can see also Shay. And okay, is everyone back here? So we have 4 files already. We will start to listen to these ones, and then meanwhile, if you're able to upload also the other ones, we will listen to whatever you've done. Good? I don't have a feedback anymore, but it's fine. So let's start from the one from Kaisa. That was the first one uploading it. I will share my audio. Okay, and we will play it now.
Får mot mässlingar. Professor Matti Sellberg forskar om vaccin på Karolinska institutet.
Okay, good.
That wasn't mine actually.
I think it's mine.
This, that's strange. This is called Oliver.
Får mot mässlingar. Professor Matti Sellberg forskar.
Oh, this is the same file. Something happened. Ouch.
My file was not. We don't have to listen to it.
Får mot
So the first one that was uploaded was called test, and Oliver is the same file. Or maybe it's Ableton test 1. That was yours, Kaisa? Ah, okay. This one. Okay, so this one was Kaisa, and then this one was Oliver. We listen to it again.
Får mot mässlingar. Professor Matti Sellberg forskar om vaccin på Karolinska institutet.
Okay, and then we have the one from Joyce. Okay, nice. This was a long one. Does someone else has a file that wants to upload? If not, we can just like continue with other topics. No one? Okay. By the way, the ones that were uploaded, they were nice. There were like more files that were played at the same time, and you also create like a small story in all of them. So that was really good. Some of you used rhythm already, like you tried to put it like with some rhythm, and Joyce used some effects too. So that's nice that you started to experiment with something new. I just want to spend like 5 more minutes on Ableton to show you some editing tools actually, and then we will talk a little bit about like a theory topic, and then we will go back to Ableton using some more effects. So I will share my screen again, and
I had a quick question.
yes.
Is it possible to like change the pitch of a sound to make
Yeah.
it like, because I tried to do that with the last guitar sound,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find it.
I heard that, so I will show it to you right now. So if we have this session again, we will see some basic editing things. So we saw that we can move sounds on the timeline and organize them on time, and that's already something. Second thing that is nice to know is that we can change the duration of a file, either splitting it or making the clip shorter or on one side or the other one. So for example, if we say that this green clip, we like it, but we like just the middle part, like for example this one, what we can do is go on top here, and when we are on the top left corner of a clip, you can see that the mouse is changing, the cursor is different. So when we have this symbol, we can just like click and drag, and so we can just like change the duration of the clip like this. So for example, if I want to use just that part of a file, I can do that. And then undo. What else I can do is let's say that I want to split it here because I want to use the first part on one side of the composition and the last part in another place. I can just like put my cursor where I want to cut it. Then I can go on edit and click split. And the shortcut is Command E, like a lot of different softwares, usually also like software that allows you to cut videos or whatever. This command is to split a clip. So if I click here, now instead of having just one clip that is moving at the same time, I will have two different ones. So I will be able to use like one part of it somewhere and the other part like maybe in the end, like this. Then we were talking with Kaisa about fades, and that are also useful because you can change the way in which a sound file will start or end. So again, if you go on a clip, you will see that when you go with the mouse on it, those small square will appear. If you drag and drop them, you have this fade in that is creating a smooth entrance of the file, and you can have a fade out on the other way. You can also shape them a little bit, so maybe they can be faster like this or slower. It can be longer. You can change it a little bit as you prefer. So for example, if you are listening to this sound, now we hear the difference between this and this, which this is just like starting from scratch and like this is just like smooth. Okay, and then so we saw also that we can change the volume of the whole track through this small box here, just drag and drop this. But we have other options per each clip, and here I will answer also to Joy's question. So if I double click on a clip, as we said before, we can see the audio file that is contained into it. Once that we see it, on the left part we will have some parameters that we can change. One of them is the volume again. So if we want to change the volume of just one clip and not of the whole track, we have to open it and change it. Like for example, let's say that this green clip that was just like one whole clip before, we splitted it and then we want to separate it, so one part is in the beginning, one part is in the end, but we want the part in the end to play at this volume, and that's okay. So we will, if we change the volume of the whole track, then we attenuate the volume of everything that is contained in this track. But if we want to change the volume just of this part, we double click, we go here and we reduce the volume just of this clip. You can also see visually that this waveform now is smaller and this is like this. So now if I change the volume of the track, I will maintain this proportion between the two clips, like I'm changing the volume of both clips, like of whatever is on the track. But then if I double click on a clip and I change the volume here, I'm just changing the volume of that sound file. Then other operations that I can do here is transpose, and here is how you change actually the pitch. Let's take a clip that maybe is a bit more interesting, like this one. Okay, so if I double click on this, here I can change the volume again, and then here I can transpose it. So if I play, this is the original pitch, and then if I move this a bit up, we will have a different pitch. Here we change it using semitones. So if I do 12, if I use 12, it will be 1 octave above. As you can hear, now is not really pleasant, the sound, because what we can choose when we are transposing a sound, we can change the algorithm that we're using to transpose it. So for example, now here it says beats, and this means that is an algorithm that is optimized for percussive sounds. So if we change it to tones or complex pro, then it will be better. It's more like the original one. So now it was transposed and now it's the original. This is the original and this is transposed. It's more like the original one, but just like 1 octave above. And of course we can also go down and we will have different effects. So another really interesting thing that we can do in this section is use this small button that says rev, that stands for reverse. So if we want to reverse, like play the same sample but reversed, we can just like double click on a clip like we are doing now, and then we do this and we will have it on the other way around. So this is really effective because whatever kind of sounds you have, especially if it's a voice like the one, the recording of the TV, if you reverse it, it will be something totally different. It's a bit an old style way to modify samples, but can be really interesting, especially if you have some samples like this one, the guitar one, that has the original version has kind of a big attack and then a long decay. So if we reverse it, it will be a sound that is like gradually coming in and can be like interesting for a break or something that is changing. Like for example, if we do something like that quickly. We will have something happening in the beginning.
That is the reality of Venezuela today, and yet you, it seems,
And this could be a nice way to create transitions. Okay, if everything is clear about the way in which you can edit sounds in that way, we will change subject now for a while and then we go back to Ableton later. Joyce, did I reply to your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, nice. I hope that everything is clear. So now what we can do is just quit Ableton Live. Wait, we can just like leave it there and we can go back to our small website and we will talk a little bit about meaning of sounds and different sources that we can use and what's their relationship among them. I will share my screen again. This way we can all have a look at the same thing. All right. So if now I will read that and then this way everyone has the same thing. So if we put the concept of music as is intended in a commercial way aside and we focus just on sound, and actually if we will be able to listen whatever is coming to our ear, can we consider that music or no? That's a big question, and I think that is really interesting to have a look at this interview that was made in like 20 years ago, no more than like 30 years ago, to John Cage, that is an experimental composer from New York, from the avant-garde, and it was experimenting with electronic music, and it was questioning a lot about what is music, what is sound, what is silence. So we will have a look at this interview.
When I hear what we call music, it seems to me that someone is talking, and talking about his feelings or about his ideas of relationships. But when I hear traffic, the sound of traffic here on 6th Avenue, for instance, I don't have the feeling that anyone is talking. I have the feeling that sound is acting. And I love the activity of sound. What it does is it gets louder and quieter, and it gets higher and lower, and it gets longer and shorter. It does all those things which I'm completely satisfied with that. I don't need sound to talk to me. We don't see much difference between time and space. We don't know where one begins and the other stops. So that most of the arts we think of as being in time, and most of the arts we think of as being in space. Marcel Duchamp, for instance, began thinking of thinking of music as being not a time art, but a space art. And he made it a piece called Sculpture Musicale, which means different sounds coming from different places and lasting, producing a sculpture which is sonorous and which remains. people expect listening to be more than listening. And so sometimes they speak of inner listening, or the meaning of sound. When I talk about music, it finally comes to people's minds that I'm talking about sound that doesn't mean anything, that is not inner, but is just outer. And they say, these people who understand that finally say, you mean it's just sounds? Thinking that for something to just be a sound is to be useless. Whereas I love sounds just as they are. And I have no need for them to be anything more than what they are. I don't want them to be psychological. I don't want a sound to pretend that it's a bucket, or that it's a president, or that it's in love with another sound. I just want it to be a sound. And I'm not so stupid either. There was a German philosopher who's very well known, Immanuel Kant, and he said there are two things that don't have to mean anything. One is music, and the other is laughter. Don't have to mean anything, that is, in order to give us very deep pleasure. You know that, don't you? The sound experience, which I prefer to all others, is the experience of silence. And the silence almost everywhere in the world now is traffic. If you listen to Beethoven or to Mozart, you see that they're always the same. But if you listen to traffic, you see it's always different.
All right. I think that this interview about all these topics is really interesting because it's bringing up a lot of different questions. So it doesn't give like so many answers, of course, like he's giving his point of view, but is putting us in the perspective of like asking us a lot of different questions. And just like for like just for you to know, it's really interesting that John Cage was talking about silence, saying that that's the most interesting experience that you can hear, and but basically he's also stating that silence doesn't exist, because then it says, okay, the sound of silence is traffic usually, so it's a sound and it's not just like the absence of sound. And that's also something interesting, and is nice to know that he made a piece that was called 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Basically, you can find it online, but was just like a score that was asking to a piano player to go on stage and just like wait for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And that was like okay, part of the avant-garde. But what was happening is that the stage and also the room, the concert hall, was supposed to be silent, but then of course everyone was starting to make small noises, and that was the music itself. And this is the concept of John Cage silence, and is interesting. Going back to our presentation, so the sound of traffic, can we consider it music? Is it just sound? Does it have a meaning? Is it silence? How can we consider it? And does every sound have a meaning? Or is music supposed to have a meaning? Or is just music, as John Cage was saying, doesn't have to have a meaning, just have to create some pleasure? It's hard to answer to this question, but actually is really important to ask us those questions, especially if we want to design a music experience. I would say that a nice answer to consider is that in nature, we have ears to have more chances to survive, because in nature, sound has a meaning. So through our ears, we can understand if we are in open air, if we are in a big room, if you are in a small room, if there is some water leaking in the toilet, or if it's windy outside, or if it's raining, or there is something loud that usually correspond to a big thing, or if there is something like quiet around us, that maybe is a small thing. So we can have like a lot of indicators from what we hear. Each of them has a meaning for us. So for example, for a primitive human being, a roar would mean a danger, like a danger, and the loudness of it will means if this danger is far away or if it's close, and then he will be able to take a decision: should I run away or not? And the same indicator would be for us. For example, nowadays, if we hear the sound of a car, probably we will not cross the street, because we will know that there is a car that is coming closer. So in nature, actually, or like in the real world, the sound always has a meaning. And what about then recorded sound? Is it the same thing? Every sound that is recorded has a meaning itself or not? Well, talking about this is interesting to express this concept that is called acousmatic sound and music. So this concept about acousmatic music was developed in the 50s or also late 40s from a guy called Pierre Schaeffer that started to experiment with recorded sound. You can read more about him just like checking his Wikipedia webpage. And he was an engineer, a sound engineer that was working for the French radio. And what happened is that he had the chance to have different machines, like the first tape machines and first machines that were able actually to record sounds and to manipulate them a little bit. So whatever we were doing now, just recording some sounds with our phone and then modifying them into Ableton like we did, he needed like a super huge studio to do that. But the nice thing is that he did a lot of reflections about it and he tried to understand what was the potential of it. And he actually understood that the recording process is an artificial intervention that will create something new. So as soon as we record a sound, that sound is not the sound that we were listening before, but we are creating something new. So as it happens just now, like that someone recorded like some guitar strings with a phone, and when we were listening to that sound in real life, that was guitar strings. But as soon as that sound is recorded and we play it again through another media that is a speaker, that sound is not what it was before anymore, but it becomes just a sound itself. And so he started to questioning about it, like, okay, but so what can we do that? Like, can we do something that is creative out of it? And actually, he understood that every sound can be modified a little bit, and that would actually amplify the potential that a recording sound has, making it even more autonomous, more independent from the original source. That's the meaning of acousmatic. The word acousmatic means hiding the source. So if we have something that so if we have like a sound and we cannot see where the sound is coming from, then that's an acousmatic sound. That's exactly what is happening every time that we are listening to a sound from a loudspeaker. We actually don't know where it comes from. Okay, we can see maybe if a loudspeaker is just amplifying someone that is on stage, we can create like a connection that someone is singing on stage, and what we hear from the loudspeaker is just the amplified voice. But at the same time, it's something new, especially if we record it and then if we play it out again. To make it more clear, the word acousmatic comes from the Greece language, like Greek, and it was used to indicate Pythagoras lessons, and he was teaching to his like courses. He was teaching behind the curtain to make sure that the students were not distracted by his voice or like by his person, but he wanted them just to listen to the voice. And that's exactly the meaning of it. So when we separate the source from the moment in which we are listening to it for a sound. So going back to Pierre Schaeffer, he was able to record sounds and modify them and create what is called a sound object. So a sound object is something that is totally independent from a source. So once that we record a sound, and especially if we modify it, just like, for example, reversing it as we did before, we create something totally new. And this thing is called a sound object. And just to let you understand a little bit the experiment that he was working on, we can have a listen to that. And these are called études de bruit, that means studies on noises. And so it was recording different noises and try to understand what they can become if you record them and if you modify them. Will they be the same thing? Will they be we will be able always to recognize the source, or we will not be able to recognize it? And how could we perceive that kind of sounds? Okay. I think it's really interesting to listen to these sounds that were made in 48. That's a lot of time ago. And especially the last part of the example that we were listening to, in which you can kind of recognize that the source is a piano, but then actually is not a piano anymore, because like he was modifying them and he changed them, and some of them were reversed, some of them were looped in a different way, so you will not understand the normal attack and decay. So that sound was like a new sound that in some way has a connection with a piano, but in the end is something that is new, and that's an interesting concept. So yeah, as we said already, a sound object is a sound per se, detached from the meaning that its source can have, and is different from meanings that sound in nature have. So as soon as we record something, we are creating something that is totally new, because then we will need to play it back. Especially if we have the chance to modify it, then we are creating something that doesn't exist in nature. And so the meaning of that sound is also changing. And yeah, in a technical way, a sound object can be created starting from a recorded sound that then is modified, or it can be created starting from a synth sound as well. A synthesizer is an instrument that is able to generate electronic sounds, and on which we can have control on different parameters. We can have a look at it later. So every sound object will have different properties, like a specific dynamic, that is basically how the volume is changing throughout the development of the sound itself. The development in time, so how, like, is it long, is it short, is it like with a fast attack and long decay, a slow attack and fast decay? What is the pitch of the sound? And what is the spectrum of the sound? Like, is it just made of a lot of different components, or is just like a very simple sound? So this statement, I think, is kind of interesting, that a sound object is a sound itself, like it's something that has an identity and is not the sound of something. So it's not, if we record the guitar as we did, we are not then listening to the sound of the guitar, but we are listening to a sound object that is in some way related with the guitar. The interesting part that is connected to what we are doing, and also to the project that we are trying to develop also for the digital museum, and that is also connected to what we were doing yesterday, is that when we are designing a sound experience, we actually design sound objects in order to determine the meanings that we want to achieve. So if we use sounds that are coming from nature, we have to be conscious of their common meanings among the cultural environment in which we will use them. So if we are designing a sound experience, as probably you will do, and you will have maybe like different ideas on the meanings that you want to achieve, the best way to design that experience is designing sound objects that will help you to go in that direction. And of course, sound objects can be used in combination with natural sounds, like sounds from nature. And you have to be really careful on the common meanings that the sound from nature can have in a cultural environment. And a quick example is the one of the high heels that we were talking about yesterday, that can be referred to a girl and a woman walking. And for some people were connected to femininity, but not for all of us. When we design a sound experience, so we want to force some semantic connection, and that will happen especially when we have different factors that are involved. So usually when we design a sound experience, we are not just creating a sound composition. So we are not just composing music, but usually we compose sound to be played with something else that is going on. That can be a video, can be some images, can be a text, can be just like a room with different objects in it. So when we connect sound to one of these other factors, then we will want to force a semantic connection between the sound object that we created and whatever other factor that we have. And so we will try to make the sound object the sound of the content that is there. So for example, if we have a video and in the video something is shown, we would be able to create a sound object that is expressing the meaning that we want the thing that we are seeing to have. So if we want, for example, to have like an animal in the video and we want like to have some specific meaning connected to that, whatever sound that we put on it, we will force the meaning that that animal will have. Maybe this example was not super good, but actually I think you got it. So now this is the way in which we connect the exercise that we did yesterday about trying to find sounds indicators that were connected to a concept that we wanted to express. So yesterday we found different concepts, and then we found some sounds indicators for that concept. And these sounds indicators are exactly what we need as a starting point to create sound objects that are really useful to give a meaning to our project or to bring our audience where we want them to be. And why this is happening? Because we are not just using the sound indicator as something that is taken as it is, but can be like a starting point for us to editing something that is referred to that, but is not exactly the same thing. And so we can create something new. There's a connection to those sound indicator, and we will be able to stick the meaning to that same thing. I will stop sharing and ask you if everything makes sense. Maybe it's a bit confusing, but I think it's also nice if you have more questions out of it than answers. But I just hope that the concept of acousmatic is clear, and also of what is a sound object. Is it clear?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, more or less. Yeah, of course, is really broad as an argument. I'm trying to like take different snippets and just trying to give you different suggestions that you can then go deeper into them. And I hope it's just clear the fact that when we record something, basically we are creating something new, especially if we modify it, because every sound that we extrapolate from reality will have like a new meaning and will be like some new thing that is not existing in reality anymore. And that's the way in which we need to think when we are recording sounds and modify them and creating new sounds. Okay, last thing that is a little bit more theoretical that I want to talk about is the narrative potential of sound. And after that, then we will go back to do some practical exercises. So the narrative potential is really important as well, and is described by the structure. So as you did before, you made like a sound collage, and all of you created a different structure like in time. And this was the one that was helping us to understand if there was a story, if there was just like some action going on or not. A good example to understand this is, of course, movies that are like usually telling a story. So if we try to analyze a little bit the sound of a movie, we will see that usually there are three different elements. One element is full A, one element is the soundtrack, that is music, and one is dialogues. So full A is every sound that is not music and that is not the voice of the actors. So it's considered full A, like steps, whatever kind of noise that a cloth can make, or if you are horsing around, like sound of horses, the cars, doors that are closing, like whatever kind of sound that is in the environment, that's considered full A. And then that's one layer in a movie. Another one is the soundtrack, that usually is music. And then another one is dialogues, that voices of the actors. So if we turn off the screen while we are watching a movie, the combination of these three elements will make us understand what is happening, when is happening. So usually if we just listen to music instead of watching it, just through every sound that is part of the environment, we can understand where we are, if we are open air, if we are in a city, if we are in the countryside. We can also understand if it's night, if it's day. We can just understand that just by the environmental sounds that we have. We can also understand a little bit if we are in the future or if we are in space, if we are back in the past, because usually if we hear like horses will not be probably like contemporary. And then the soundtrack will help us understand emotions, what kind of emotions are going on. So if you're imagining a movie now, you have cars and traffic and you're in a city, you understand that you're in a city. But if the soundtrack is really dynamic and maybe is a beat and maybe is like a heavy beat, you are expecting some kind of action. You are expecting that something will happening and that maybe it's a hustle movie and something will just happen very quickly. If you have just like classical music and something that is really quiet and really smooth, you will be like in a totally different mood. And then of course you will have dialogues. So as soon as someone will talk, you will start to understand which characters are involved and what they are doing. So this is actually what is making the structure also like I took this example, like I was talking about movies, but the same thing is actually happening also just in a music piece. You have to make a little bit of an effort to understand that, but actually is not hard, because instead of having maybe dialogues, if we take a symphony, maybe we will have like some specific instruments that are singing a melody that is always the same and that will appear in different moments. And then that will be like our protagonist that maybe are having a dialogue between themselves. And then we will have some other elements of the symphony that will give us the background, sort of, that maybe is more emotional, in which we can understand if we are in a happy situation or is more melancholic, if it's dark, if it's sad, and like settling the feelings. And then like we will have something that is defining more where we are, that usually maybe if we are talking about a symphony can be elements that are referred to a specific culture, like if the composer is maybe from Europe or if he is from Asia, then we will have some elements that are identifying the culture of the composer that will create an ambience for it. So the combinations of these different elements and the way in which they will appear in time, they will tell us the story. We can do that also when we are working just with sounds and when we are putting together sounds, of course, like in time. In this way, we can understand where we are, who is doing what. And when I'm saying who, is not just like a person, but can be like, we can just like decide to have a protagonist that maybe is a sound that is protagonist. And then we can create a story about it. And the elements that are helping us to do that when we are making like a small piece of music that is maybe connected with it, like a visual or something, those elements are repetition, when we introduce new elements, variations of the elements that we have, and also silence. So repetition, for example, is something that is used a lot of time to tell a story, because maybe if you have a piece of music that is 5 minutes long, or also a movie, but let's stay to a piece of music that is 5 minutes long. And then in the first part, you have an element, and then this element will come back again, and then maybe again a third time, you will recognize it. And so it has a specific meaning for you. That means that that element is a protagonist of that piece of music that is happening, because it's coming back. And every time that it's coming back, maybe it's coming back in a different situation because whatever was in the background maybe changed. And that sort of repetition is very useful because our ear is always looking for something that is familiar. So if you have an element that is in the beginning, when that element is coming back again, and your ear is able to recognize it, it will find it familiar. And so the perception for you of the thing is changing. It's just like, okay, we had like a character or some sort of protagonist, and then it's back and something happened. So that's a way to express narrative, for example. And variations are really important because, as I said before, let's say that when you have an element that then is repeated and so is coming back, maybe you have a variation of whatever else was in the background. And so you have the feeling that something is going on, that something is developing, and that there is an action in some way. And silence is, of course, also part of it, because in music is a way in which you can create breaks and like you can let time going on. So if you have like a moment of silence, and then when you start again, you have the feeling that time is actually passing. Just imagine a piece of music in which everything is just still, like a drone that is going on all the time, and there's no rhythm and no silence. You will have the feeling that time is not going anywhere, that is just like static. But as soon as you introduce like a break and then it's starting again, then you have the feeling of something that is moving. You can imagine that, like if you have like just sounds that are just like a tone staying still, like you will have the feeling of something that is static. But if you have a silence in between and then it starts again, you immediately have the feeling of something that is moving, like that's not static, but is moving already. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I think it can be interesting to have a look at some full A example, because is a way also to understand the concept of the sound object and the fact that every kind of sound that we record is not what we've recorded anymore. So just like a little parenthesis on it. So a full A artist is someone that usually is making all those sounds that are not dialogues and that are not music for movies and for cartoons. So if you think about the fact that a cartoon is totally artificial, so when it's finished, it doesn't have any sound, and so every sound that is part of it should be created artificially. And of course, there are artists that are doing that, and sometimes it can be really surprising the way in which they are finding that, in which they are connecting a sound from reality to the sound that to the action that we see on screen. Okay, I don't try to explain it anymore because it's not a good explanation. We will just watch the small clip and you will understand easily. All right. I think that at this point, I would love to go back to Ableton and make again something that is more practical, starting also from these suggestions that we had from something that is more historical, something that is connected with movies and everything. So I would love to start with another small task that you can do. And so this time you will try to record some sounds again. So not use the sound that are already in the folder, but you will record some new sounds, creating some sound objects. That means that probably you will modify them a little bit more, like reversing them, changing the pitch, cutting them in some way, making fade in and fade out, and combine them in different ways and put them together in a way that is harder to recognize them, because we are creating new sounds that are not connected with the source anymore. So we will do that, and after that we will have a look at some more techniques that we can use into Ableton to modify samples even more, and like which kind of effects we can quickly use and in an effective way. So I would say that maybe we will have 20 minutes now in which you will need to record 3 sounds maybe, or 4, or whatever you want, import them into Ableton and modify them a little bit, and we will listen to that again.
A question there. Is it
Yeah.
possible to record directly in
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So if you want to record directly into Ableton, I would say, I don't think you have a microphone there, but you will use the microphone of your computer, right?
Yeah, well, I do have a microphone.
Okay.
I don't know if it's so good, but
Yeah,
I was just
whatever
thinking
you-
like if it's possible, but
Yeah, I will show you straight away how it works. So, where is my Ableton? So just one sec. So if we are here, you can just create a new track, and you can go on top here, selecting create, insert audio track. At this point, you also have to go to the preferences of the software. And here, where it says audio, you select the audio input device that you want to use. So when you open it here, you can use the built-in microphone, or if you are using a sound interface, it will appear here. You can see it?
right now I can only see like the timeline, or I don't know what it's called, on Ableton, and not like the pop-up. I don't know if you have a pop-up.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you cannot see that?
No. I think that's like the option that you make when you share your screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm not so good with Zoom.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah.
But I understand like you have to choose the microphone there and it should work.
Why I cannot see it anymore?
Maybe we can just try now with the phone and or something like we did before.
Yeah, I wanted. Okay, so I have to do this. I'm sorry. So, okay, now I will show you this one. You are able to see this small pop-up window right now.
Yes, but only that one now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But so basically, when you open the preferences of the software, that is just like under the name of the software preferences, and then here you select audio, and then you can select the audio input device. For example, now I have no device. If I select built-in microphone, then I will use the microphone of the computer. Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Then when you do that, you go back to your session where you have a new track, and here you have to, it's called arm the track. So you have this small button that you can click on and it will turn red, and that means that if you press the record button, that track will record. So now I select the input, that can be 1 and 2, that is my computer microphone, and then when I will press on recording, I will have some sound that are recorded there from the computer input. So you just have to select the input into the preferences, and then you have to arm the track, so that small button. Yeah. So let's say, yeah, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. We can record some sounds, import them into Ableton, and make again some small composition, but this time focusing on the fact that we are creating sound objects that are different from the source that we recorded. So if we record a voice, it's fine that we can understand that it's a voice, but it's better if it's something that is more like a bit different and is not immediately connected with a voice. And if we are recording like water, of course it's nice if we can understand that that was the where it comes from, but we have to create some sound that is connected to water in some way, but is something different. Make sense?
Yeah. But will you go through like the sounds that is in the program, like how we can work with those?
Which what?
Because I don't, in the program,
Yeah.
when you click around, you have like sounds, I mean, lots of different sounds to choose from. And I don't understand how I get them in, they don't seem to work the same way, and I don't understand how to use them. Well, I could, I think that would be interesting to.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Like, so let's do this more exercise. Maybe we will, yeah,
I
in like
can't
15
stay
minutes.
so long. So yeah, I don't think
Oh,
I
you have to leave. Okay, okay, it doesn't matter.
I'm
I
just...
think that then we can do this as we are not so many people. We can talk about like some new techniques, and then for who wants to stay, we can do the exercise like just as the last part. So that was an interesting question. Let's go back to Ableton. So you're talking about this thing that is called sounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the main difference that you can understand is the thing that is called sounds is based on different instruments that you can use. So when you actually open, for example, bass, you can see here this icon that is different from the one that you can find on samples. So when you open samples, you see that here you have like a waveform that corresponds to an audio file. But here you have just a square that corresponds to an instrument. So when you are trying to drag, for example, acid bass into your session, it will not allow me to drag it on an audio track because it's a MIDI instrument. So I should drag it into like an empty space here, and then I will be allowed to do that. And it will create a new track in which I have this instrument that is playing. So basically, everything that is under the name sound here are instruments, are like presets of synthesizers, and they are making sounds. So for example, now I loaded this one and I can turn on this keyboard here. So when I play the keyboard of my computer, I will have some notes, and so I can hear this sound. Are you actually able to do this? You understood how it works? And then if not, this way I can explain you, like make you other examples.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah. So if you try to drag one of these sounds into your session, you will see that you will not be allowed to drag it on an audio track, but you can just like either remove some tracks that are here and have some empty space, or drag it on a MIDI track. So if I do this, here I'm on an audio track, so it's not working. Then I'm going down, is an empty space, there are no tracks here, and it allows me to drag it here. And then when I do that, I have the instrument here in the bottom. Does it work?
Yeah, I have it there, but I don't have the thing to the left that you have.
You mean this one?
It's a little box in the left corner, down corner.
This one?
The small, yeah, that left part.
Yeah, it can be different because it depends which instrument you dragged in, and then everyone is different. So if I just try anxious woofer, okay, then this one is different. So maybe you can have something that is more like this, or
I just have an empty box there. I chose the acid meltdown bass,
yeah.
and it says nothing there. Yeah, you don't have anything either now.
Okay. But so
I don't know what to do with this.
No, I choose the acid meltdown bass, and what I see here is this instrument here with a waveform inside. You don't see this?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So
I just don't know what to do.
No. Okay. Now the thing is that once that you drag those sounds, you cannot see anything because you have to play them. So basically, these are like instruments that now are on a track. So this track has an instrument in it, and now is waiting for some instructions for playing it. So the easiest way to listen to these sounds is load it to a track as we did already, and then you go in the top right corner here and you see that there is this button with a keyboard. You see it? So when this is active, when you press keys on your computer, like for example F, you will have a note that is playing.
Getting more advanced.
And do you have some sounds?
Yep. Fun.
Nice. Okay, nice. So you just have to, so whatever sounds that you have there, you can have like a lot of them, like orchestra. You can choose to play like a brass ensemble. I drag it here, it will load, and you see every one of them is different. And then another thing that is really important, so first make sure to have this button active, and then you can play it with your keyboard. That was fun. And then for example, as you can see now, I have 5 different tracks with different instruments in it. And the red button here is the one that is selecting the one that I'm playing. So if the red button is active on this track, now with my keyboard, I will play acid bass. If I move it down, then it's this. Does it make sense?
Yes, great.
Then, yeah, the last thing that is really cool, if you actually want to use it, is that, okay, you can have fun just to play them, but at the same time, maybe you find like a bass line that you want to record or that you want to use. Maybe you say, oh, wow, this is great, it's going to be a hit, so I want to record it. What you can do is that, okay, once that you make sure that you have this button active on the track that you want to record, then if you just press the record button, and then you stop, and what you will have are some MIDI notes that are now there, and you can play them back. And yeah, that's how you use those different sounds. So that's one thing, to use something that is kind of nice, because you can have like a lot of different opportunities. I would also suggest that it's really cool to explore the samples part here, in which you have thousands of different samples. And if you don't know what they are, if you just click on them, you have a preview. Once that you find the one that you want to use, like let's say this one, these are just audio samples, so you can just like drag and drop it into your session, and they will be like audio files, and so you can put them wherever you want, and then you can play it with your bassliner. And then maybe you want to change the volume of this, you double click, you take it down a bit, maybe you want to reverse it and see what will happen. Add a fade, and this way and then you want them to finish at the same time. And that's how you can use those samples and those sounds that are in the browser. It makes sense?
Yeah, that was really good too.
Yeah, then another thing that I don't know if you still have time, but we can have a look at some different effects. So let's say that now we like, oh fuck, I'm not sharing the screen. Okay, that now we like this sample that we have here. We want to make it longer and with different fades like this, and we want to create a loop. So if we go to audio effects, all the ones that we find here are devices that we can drag on a track to modify it in some different ways. Usually the name of it is telling already what the effect is doing. Like if you have an effect called delay, that means that you can add a delay to the sound. Then you have a chorus, you can have EQ, and for example, reverb. These are really basic stuff. But for example, if on this sound, we want to create something that is more resonant and that is making it more, a little bit more far away and a little bit more dreamy, we will select a reverb. We just take it and drag it on the same track, and we will have it here. Every time that we have something here, then we can change parameters. Like as you can see now, we have pre-delay, or the most important one is always the dry wet. That means that if it's 0, we don't have any effect. It's like if this one doesn't exist. And then as long as we turn it on, we will have the wall effect. So now we added some reverb, and the interesting thing is that we can make a chain of effects. So on the same track, we can add more than one thing. So that one was the echo, the reverb. We can add some delay, like this one, maybe with not so much dry wet.
Can you search for the effect?
Yeah, there are not so many. So actually you see all of them here. But then on top here, you have also, like, you can just type.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so this is the delay. And maybe another interesting thing that we can have is this one that is called auto filter. I can put it here. And if we change this, we can actually filter the sound, having just the low frequency until the highest one. And what we can do here is adding some movements. So if I actually turn this on, so now we have 3 effects on this track. And as you can see, if I select another track, we will not have anything because we put those effects just on one track. If we like, for example, what we have done here, we can just select all of them, pressing Shift, and I select all of them. I can just copy, like Command C, and paste them on another track. So I select another track, I go here where it says drop audio effect, I click here, and then I do Command V, and I will add the same effect chain on this track. So if I now want to listen to this track, let me remove this sound. As you can hear, every effect will have a different result depending on the sound that you're feeding into it. So, but there are still some similarities. So now we have the same effect chain on this track and on this one. And if I play it with this sound, we have this effect. And with this one, we have another effect. So, for example, if you make a chain of effects, it's nice if you want to copy and paste it, because then it will create some sort of is continuous among all the sounds that you're using. So, for example, now I'm applying same effects also to this sound, and let's see what will happen.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you put on the effect, you said you could put it on dry or wet.
Yeah.
Did you like make it change during time, or?
No,
I'm not used to these programs, so I'm like,
no. So the point is, like, for example, now the fact that you were hearing like this thing that was opening and closing is because of a parameter of one of the effects. So I show you what is happening here in this effect chain. So we have the reverb, and the dry wet is fully open, is 100%. Then we have a little bit of delay, and the dry wet is 32%. And then we have this other effect that is called auto filter, that actually doesn't even have the control on the dry wet, because once that you apply a filter, you filter everything, okay? But what happened here is that you have this small part that is called LFO, that means low frequency oscillator, and you can decide how much of this is changing the effect. So this part of the effect is changing the effect during time. Unfortunately, every effect has different parameters, and the only way in which you can know them a little bit better is just exploring them. Usually, if you just like take a random one and you drag it into a track, then you already can feel how it is. Like, for example, now I remove this and I just like try a chorus on this sound, and then I can try to play the same thing but turning off the effect. This way I understand how it is, and we understand, and then I can try to modify some random parameters also if I don't know what is happening. And it sounds a little bit random, but actually that's the best way in which you can explore different effects and see what is happening. And when you're satisfied with something, you can just like export it, and yeah, it will take a lot of time to go through all the effects and try to understand exactly all of them, what they are doing. But it's very nice to start with some basic and then like explore them, like the basic ones that we were talking about. I don't know if you tried to drag and drop them into your session, but like a reverb and a delay and this one called auto filter, that could be a nice starting point. And if you just mess around a little bit with the parameters, you will find like a lot of different results, and that's a good starting point, for example.
Thank you. I'll try that.
Yeah. And yeah, another thing that I wanted to talk about is the technique that is mentioned in the video as well, and is called layering, and that's actually what we are doing here. So if you have some sound that is overlapped, then you can call it layering. And what you can also do that is interesting is layering the same track, duplicating it different times. So if I select a track like this one, and then I right click on it and I say duplicate, I will have a copy of it. And then what I can do on this track is change some I can change some parameters of, for example, some effects. And then I can listen to it and try to understand how much of this track I want to add. Okay, to make it clear now, I will play the same thing, but without the track that we added now. So I mute it. This one will not play. I'm just playing these two ones now. So the red and the purple one. Then what I've done, I selected this track, the purple one, right clicked on it, and I said duplicate. So I have an exact copy of the same track. Then I changed some parameters into the effects that I'm using kind of randomly. And then I activate it now, and I change a little bit the volume, and I play it again. And that's a way to actually create more and more complex layers of different things, just starting from a very simple element. So what we are using here are just like 2 samples, and then we duplicate one. Actually, we can do the same thing, duplicating this one too, and changing parameters here as well, kind of randomly, and we can see what will happen. And another thing that we can do after layering them, so we have just 2 samples with duplicated tracks using different effects on them, and then what we are doing is changing the position that they have in the mix. So we modify this small box saying C, that stands for center, and like for example this one we put a little bit on the left, this one a little bit on the right, same here, left, right. So what we will listen now, just using 2 samples. One was recorded with a smartphone and the other one we found it into the samples here. We drag them in, we modify them a little bit, we reversed this one and we changed the volume, we added some fade, and then we created a chain effect, and we already obtained something that is kind of complex, and we made it even more complex, duplicating the same track and changing the parameters on all of the effects that we are using. And then we also changed the parameters of where sounds are. So if they are left or right, if they are coming to our left headphone or right one. So that's a nice way with few elements to create something that is pretty complex. And I would say that also is interesting the fact that we are modifying those sounds that were recorded with a smartphone and we are not able to recognize them anymore. Like one of the sounds that we were using now is coming from a guitar, but now we actually created a sound object, like something that is totally different. Also, if maybe you can have something of the recording itself, but we created something that has a total new identity and that can be used into like a project that we are designing sounds for. So that could be the interesting part of it. I don't know if you have some other specific questions.
I have one. You can go, Joyce.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my camera to work, but I don't know what happened. Can you see me now?
No.
No, I can't see myself either, but you can hear me. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna go like this.
No,
the question, yeah, when you do that, when you like take one sound and make something else out of it,
yeah.
Do you usually start from an idea and be like, maybe this sound can make this, or do you usually like just play around and see what happens?
I would say both. Sometimes if I want to obtain like a specific result, I will start with something and saying, okay, I want, for example, to record the sound of paper and make something out of that because I want to have a feeling of that one. And sometimes it's just random. Sometimes I'm more just like messing around with different effects. What is probably clear is usually with the effects that I'm applying, there is the time in which I'm trying to go in some specific direction. And like one basic thing that is really important is filters are the best thing to actually modify a lot whatever you're doing and to give like a specific character. Like for example, the thing that we've done now that is kind of dreamy and spacey and whatever, we obtained this result because it's kind of high pitch, like we don't have something in the low part of the spectrum, and we are using a big reverb. So for example, if I want to go in a more dramatic direction, what I will do probably will be something like that. Am I answering to your question or not?
Yes, so
Okay.
that it's different, like.
Yeah, so for example, yeah, it's different, but then like, so for example, I would say that the way in which I apply effects is the heaviest thing that I'm doing to try to obtain what I have in my mind. And of course, like the sample that I'm using to maybe obtain that result can be important, but not all the time. So for example, now we were randomly doing things and we obtained this result. And then let's say, oh, but this is so happy or just like mysterious. I want something that is more dramatic. So what I will do is probably, for example, one of these two samples, I will try to pitch it down and see what will happen. And then also this one to make it lower, but with a different interval. So this one I pitched it down 1 octave, was -12. This one will be -7. And for example, okay, it's becoming a little bit more dramatic. Maybe what I want is the filter to be more close here, and this one more like this and slower. And then I will probably do the same thing here. Yeah, so what I will do probably is try to tweak a little bit the effects that I'm using, and then if I see that I can really not obtain the result that I'm looking for, then I would probably change the sample and try to understand what is probably expressing better what I want to do. But actually, I would say that so it can be like both directions. Sometimes can be random, sometimes can be that you have something specific in your mind. But the exercise that we did yesterday usually is really helpful. So if I have a concept that I want to actually represent in some way, I will try to find which ones are the sound indicators that, at least in my mind, are better referring to that. And it can be a concept, can be an emotion, can be whatever. So if I'm saying, okay, I want to try to express sadness, what would be the best way for me? What is representing it? Like what is the sound in real life that is representing that for me? Is it again rain? Is it like a dropping, like a drop that is like just in a cave or like something like that? And then that could be like a nice starting point, because then from that it's probably easier to achieve the result that I want.
I'm gonna have to go now. But
Right.
thank you. It was very interesting.
I hope that you're confused enough now, but at the same time interested in trying to mess around a little bit more, like with whatever is sound. And yeah, I hope it was interesting for you.
It was. I was almost giving up in the beginning already, but then since you took time to help me follow, then I got into it again, and it was
so
fun.
yeah. This small website that on which, like the Git book in which you have some information now is not really complete. I will add some more information, so if you just want to go back on that and read a little bit, you can go through all the topics again and have like a little bit deeper look on it. So I hope it will work for you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. And I don't know if someone else has some specific question or some like special techniques that want to have a look to, or like if you want to see something more related with MIDI and synths, we can have like also just 10 minutes on basic synths lingo that maybe can be interesting. Like if you don't want just to work with samples, but actually with synthesizers.
I actually had to leave also. I'm really sorry, but it was great today. Thank you so much.
Okay. And again, if you have whatever kind of question, just email me, especially when you're working on your project and you don't know how to realize something, or both about Ableton or about sound in general. So just let me know. And you have my email, I think. If not, I think you can find it.
It should be in the mail or in the calendar, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. It was really nice to meet you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. I'm in the production group, so I haven't been able to be here all the time, but it's been super interesting.
Nice. And yeah, as I said, I actually I know that it was confusing, but I hope that it was confusing in a nice way, that it was just more like giving some inputs and some suggestions to try to look at sound in a different perspective. So I hope that that worked.
I think it actually made a lot of sense.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, it was really nice to meet you then, and good luck for the work that you have to do, and I will be really curious to see where it will go. So I will follow it.
Great. You're invited to the opening, of course.
But when will it be?
20th.
28th. Okay. Yeah.
20th, like not 28th, but the 20th.
Okay. Yeah, but I will also ask again to Shay and like someone. This way I will know. Thank you so much.
Okay, have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.